And it's another one down, people. The National Endowment for the Humanities has canceled.
Hey, folks, I need to boost my mutuals post here and strenuously request your consideration for what's going on here in terms of obedience in advance. A couple of months ago, cast your mind back, a couple of weeks ago, God, it's been a long effing year. I made a post about Colonial Williamsburg monkeying around with honest history websites. I was subject to an attack. It's called a fearmonger, or more to the point, a liar. Yay. But it's amazing what 2 million views on a post will get. This is in the context, though, of the Wall Street Journal's investigation of the National Archives reconfiguring their interpretation of the American past to make sure that it is comfortable for white audiences, that it is unchallenging to those audiences, that it is welcoming to those audiences and those audiences only. And now we have this news about the Juneteenth funding from the NEH. But let's put this in a little bit broader context because this didn't just happen. This is exactly what I talked about in that video. Go back to it. This is exactly what I talked about. This is the stuff that's going to slide under your radar. Why? Because this happened all the way back on November 19th. Oddly enough, an announcement about erasing funding for programs that will center slavery happened exactly on the anniversary of the Gettysburg Address. But this was first announced. This whole collection of programs to celebrate Juneteenth and center slavery in terms of the American experience was announced way back in June, again, of this very long year. It was supposed to be as announced by the Biden administration, the White House press release. It's going to include a bold national Juneteenth celebration to center the legacy of slavery and Black history in America, culminating in a grand celebration next year. Reading groups, traveling exhibits, workshops, documentaries, digital media. A real investment in honest history and in an honest public history. Presenting it to you, engaging you with it, making sure that you understand the centrality of all of that to how we got from then to now. Well, it's dead now. Quietly, though, quietly. The NEH quietly canceled the program on November 19th, just weeks after the election. Their explanation, quote, due to circumstances, end quote. Right. Do we call this what it is? Do we call this obedience in advance? The staff at the National, I can tell you, having served on NEH funding councils, which are groups that meet to evaluate both development and production funding proposals for documentaries and digital media projects. I'm one of the advisors on those. And then what happens is, so I'm very familiar with the process. I'm very familiar with the staff. And then our recommendations go on to the National Council. But the NEH Council, which makes the final decisions on fundings, is stacked with political appointees. They serve 6-year terms. But they know where the wind is blowing. 2 weeks after the election. But quietly, just make a change on the website due to circumstances. And where is the wind blowing? It's against anything that makes white audiences uncomfortable. Anything that's against the 1776 Commission. Anything that's against Project 2025's stated goal to remove anything that suggests that slavery is central to understanding American history. Just like the National Archives reinterpreting history to avoid divisive truths. Just like the sanitized storytelling infecting sites like Mount Vernon and Monticello and Colonial Williamsburg. Monticello and Montpelier are both now promoting their latest author, a hack I went to graduate school with, for his biography of Patrick Henry, which will change our understanding of this valuable, heroic founding father. Give me liberty, but only for me, not for the people who I enslave and exploit for my entire life. And who said about slavery, I just can't deal with the inconvenience of living without it. More of that, please, for those people. Your white founder, churn out that document. Churn out that book. Now is your moment. Get your podcast. Maybe Historians at the Movie will do something with it. This is the new front line of not just a culture war, but a war to protect and preserve our honest approach to understanding how that culture was formed and how we understand its dynamic in American society today and what we do to change it to make it better. And public historians are under fire. We are reconsidering our approach to institutions, whether we are part of those institutions at all, whether our work is as individuals or as members of informal communities, and about how we use digital media and other platforms that directly engage with you, with our communities, without being mediated by institutions that now are starting to second guess what was even a soft-pedaled approach before. Do you think that the American Historical Association or the National Council on Public History or the American Association of State and Local History, all of these organizations that are recipients of these funds in order to do programs like this, you don't think they're taking a second look about whether to do anything like this? About whether or not they're going to approach the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution in a way as we have seen declared by universities and other institutions around, to say that no, what they're going to do is lean in more to the patriot myth because they don't want to piss off the incoming administration. And it might keep the administration off their backs enough for them to fund small programs over here that they really need. Now to use that as a shield. We'll play in your patriot myth sandbox because we have to, because that is what's going to draw. That's what's going to draw actually that's what's going to draw the greatest attention from the folks at the administration, and so hopefully they won't pay any attention to what's going on over here. But let's be clear, this isn't about Juneteenth, and this isn't about Black history, really. This is about controlling the narrative, about establishing a master narrative, one that supports claims to authority and that supports claims to broadening that authority. Google the Enabling Act. When you erase the truth about slavery, as we have discussed, you're not just whitewashing the past. You're whitewashing the present. And that's exactly what they want. It's about propping up a brittle, toxic nationalism that cannot stand to admit the centrality of Black Americans to the story of this country. And you see it everywhere you go. Every time Mount Vernon puts up a post, every time Colonial Williamsburg puts up a post, the only way in which they will share the story of Black Americans is if it makes white people look good. Public historians, educators, I said this before in other videos, I'm going to go ahead and continue to hit this. Everyone, be vigilant. Be careful where you're getting your sources. Be careful about the sources you care about, because they can just go away. And they can go away quietly. This happened on November 19th. And people are only finding out about it now. If they can erase this, they will erase anything that doesn't fit into their agenda, anything that does not accord with the patriot American exceptionalism, anything like that. But fidelity to history is resistance. Truth is resistance. And here is where we hold the line, like it or not.